But no, we never really understand sometimes each other why the other person's feeling that way. And what you're saying is that the therapist helps you to understand why Ben's feeling a certain way about something and why you might not understand that at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think the other big way it helps is that, listen, argument is healthy because you're communicating. And what happens in a lot of relationships is that communication stops or is so kind of broken that it's not particularly effective. And I think the key to any relationship is communication.
And with you and Ben, obviously, both of you have quite busy work schedules. There is a lot of times where Ben's away or you're away yourself. Did you find that doing that sort of made up for a lot of things that you probably were thinking in your head, like, oh, I feel a bit distant? Do you feel it brought you closer as a couple?
I think being away from each other as a couple is quite a good thing, too. There's a danger
I can't get rid of him. Honestly, I tried.
I think it's good. I mean, certainly in our relationship it works because, you know, when he's been away for a long time, I get really excited about seeing him again. Whereas if he's there every single evening, it kind of, you turn into flatmates almost more than lovers. And actually, I feel that it works actually really well for us. It means that when he's back, we sit down and we have dinner and we work out, you know, what's been going on, and that communication is there. Whereas it's really easy to live together but not really communicate that well.
There's a story I read about you guys, actually. You were away, I think it was on like a holiday or a trip somewhere with a few friends that were all in couples.
Yeah.
And this was quite a few years ago now.
Yeah.
But you are the only couple that are left as a couple.
Yeah. Well, you know, divorce does happen and it's still quite common. You know, we're the generation of the parents that really were the first for divorce to be really common. And I remember getting married thinking, oh, it's definitely not going to happen to me. But it has happened to my friends. And listen, I don't think divorce is the end of the world, again, as long as that relationship is good. And that can absolutely happen if it's managed right. But if you can prevent it by seeing maybe a counsellor or a therapist once a year for an hour, I think that's a really worthwhile investment.
And I think the way you put it, you know, we go to the dentist once or twice a year. We get our car MOT'd every year. And it's a good point, because it is literally an hour out of your day for one day a year, potentially, isn't it? And do you think that just one session could help?
It's probably 100th of the time we spend on social media, on Instagram.
Well, that's the problem.
That's another round.
We live in. He's constantly on his phone. That is the main thing we argue about.
That is the main thing we argue about. But listen, Marina, what would your sort of... There's going to be a lot of people out there saying, I don't need to go see a counsellor. And, you know, without trying to sound sexist, a lot of men, mainly, would sit there and say, I don't need to go and see a counsellor, we're fine, we can deal with this ourselves. What would your sort of top tips be for couples out there or people that are at home now watching this thinking, oh, that does sound quite appealing to me?
I think, go and see someone before, you know, you reach a crisis point. It's so much easier to not fix things, but to keep something like that on track if you don't only seek advice when you've got to crisis point. So, like, with the dentist analogy, you know, if your teeth are all falling out, there's not that much that the dentist can do.
Or they could just stick some new ones back in.
But, you know, what you said earlier about... the taboo around counselling in this country. So if you're not having problems in your relationship, it might be difficult to even consider that you might want to start speaking to a therapist before those problems arise.
I don't think...
You don't agree?
I
No.
really don't agree, and I don't think there should be a taboo. I don't think it should be, you know, a sort of weakness, a consideration of weakness that you go and see a therapist. I think, you know, we get vaccinated, don't we? And there's loads of things we do to prevent certain things. And I also think maybe we're a bit too proud as a nation, you know, think we only seek help when we feel that we're failing. And actually, we're all really vulnerable. And the sooner we realise that we're all really vulnerable, the stronger we are.
Marina, I totally appreciate everything you've just said, because I sort of reading the fact that you were coming on today, you were sitting there thinking, oh, you know, we don't really argue. You sit there and think, oh, one of them relationships. But after speaking to you, it does seem a really good idea. It seems a really, really good idea, and I know a lot of you are already getting in touch already. We'll try and get a couple of them comments in, but thank you so much for joining us this morning. I really, really appreciate speaking to you.